Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of our One Piece podcast. Today we are talking about chapters 303 through 374, which covers Long Ring, Long Land, and Water 7. I really like these chapters. They're mostly, seems like a build up for Enies Lobby, which seems like the culmination of this overarching area. But yeah, these were pretty interesting arcs. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm a big fan of like Annie's Lobby and like all and also Water 7 as well. Just like Water 7 is like a really cool setting, I think. Like it's basically like it's like Venice kind of, and it's like sinking. And I really like how we like get like a little bit of lore of the history, like with like the Tom flashback, and we see that it was like basically like it used to be this like crumbling, decaying city, and then like Tom basically like brought it back to life with the rails and stuff, which I think is pretty cool.
yeah, this is still build up for any slobby, but it certainly has some very good moments. We see a lot of really cool characters, Frankie being a big one, Iceberg, um, and the Foxy arc is whatever, but it was enjoyable. It
It's
was
kind of a meme,
enjoyable.
yeah.
Yeah, I liked how silly it was. It was just a very antic filled like classic conundrum where somebody challenges you to a game, but they've rigged the game from the start and they have to work around that type of thing. Um,
Yeah.
and it's just very like lots of really silly jokes like when they're going through the race, and you've got Foxy doing all his weird little like fake ending thing or like yeah fake finish line. He's got like a fake turn right sign, and like all these really silly traps
Yeah.
that nobody in their right mind would fall for. And like he's like, "How have you not fallen for any of my traps?" And it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just very tongue-in-cheek chapter, and it kind of also establishes like I don't I'm sure they'll come back maybe later, but like this idea that these people can go around and just basically challenge you to this game, and like you're almost forced to accept because people that don't accept are like ridiculed or like whatever.
It's
Yeah.
And
like you won't,
yeah, exactly. You won't.
you won't.
I
um,
like the we're like learning about like pirate culture, like a lot of like the other kind of stuff that we had, a lot of the world building before had been like island specific, but like the Davy back fights are something where it's like this is like a pirate thing.
yeah,
And it's like there's like this sort of like shared sense of like, oh, like the pirates all know about the Davy back fight and stuff like that. Like I think
yeah.
that's cool.
It's definitely cool that they're becoming a bit more on that pirate side, and like obviously they don't act a whole lot like pirates normally because they're a very nice group of individuals that are very stand up and usually do what's right. But learning like the pirate culture and like what it means to be a pirate, especially in the Grand Line, is very interesting.
Yeah.
I think Luffy's final fight, he's got to have the afro. That's his ultimate
Yeah,
form.
I,
Yeah.
I, I really like the afro scene. He was just like, put this afro on, it'll make you stronger. And he looked good with it too. I liked how he looked with
Yeah.
it. Also, I loved Usopp's look as his coach. There's just like a couple panels with Usopp in his costume, and it was so funny.
Yeah, it's so good for like Usopp to be like the coach, like the hype man for Luffy.
Yeah,
It makes so much sense. It's
which is
perfect.
which is sad because during Water 7, Usopp has a big falling out with the
Oh,
group, which is like the first time
yeah.
we've seen something like that.
Yeah. I mean, Water 7, I think, is probably like the lowest point of the Straw Hat crew up until this point. Like
Yeah,
we have like Robin going missing, and then we have the fallout between like Usopp and Luffy, as you mentioned, and like the Going Merry is basically like in a state where it can't be repaired anymore. So this is like definitely like the crew's lowest point up until now.
yeah. I
So
it
yeah.
definitely feels like a big turning point, or at least like a big point to take notice of, and that will be resolved in the next arc. Just because we have like Usopp having a big falling out with the group and basically saying like I'm quitting, I'm gonna be a pirate, but not
Hmm.
with you guys or whatever. And like it looks like we're gonna lose the Going Merry, which is like their ship that they've been on the whole time. And you're also got this conflict with Nico Robin. So yeah, like it seems like when all this is said and done, like no matter what happens, I'm guessing Usopp will stay. I'm sure they'll get a new ship will or something big will happen to the Going Merry that'll make it seaworthy again, and then you've got to solve Nico Robin's problem. I'm sure like all these solutions that will come like are gonna change the group pretty drastically. Probably not with people leaving, just because just changing the dynamic of the group, which is really interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
I think it's an interesting idea to bring in these internal
hmm
conflicts too, because it's really easy to just say, "Oh yeah, they're all friends," and then just introduce a bunch of antagonists. Whereas realistically, if you have a crew, you are gonna have some conflict within your own crew.
Hmm.
So I was glad that was brought up this arc.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like conflict that is almost like more interesting as well because it's like we care about both of the characters and we know that they can be friends. It's just that they have like this one sticking point that they can't agree on, and so it just makes like the conflict like it makes it more tragic, but it also makes it something where we can kind of see both sides of it as well. So yeah, I like the the fact that we're dealing with internal conflict as opposed to external conflict within the crew.
I forget. They got the Going Merry from Usopp's friend, right? The
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so that explains why he's so attached to it a bit more than Luffy is, because like it show
hmm
like when Luffy's first told like you there's no way you're gonna save the ship, like he fights for it as much as he can, but like at the end of the day,
hmm
he's realistic and he's saying, okay, well we'll probably have to get a new ship. And Usopp
Yeah.
probably is like realistic enough the same way, but he also has that extra attachment to it because it was given to it by such a good friend and such a
Hmm.
good
hmm
such a big person in his life.
He
Um,
doesn't want to believe it.
yeah, he doesn't want to believe it. And I think deep down he does believe it, but he wants to do anything he can to counteract this problem with the Going Merry. And like yeah, like you said, this internal conflict is something they haven't really done before. Like they've done little spats or whatever on like a one or two chapter basis where they've like
Yeah.
had a joke fight or whatever, like Zoro and Luffy fighting after that one meal in Whiskey Peak, I think.
Whiskey Peak. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like nothing where it's like a member is basically saying he doesn't want to be part of them anymore because of this
Yeah.
difference. So yeah, like you said, this internal conflict is almost. I think I agree that it was a bit more interesting than the other conflict, and I think that was probably just because the other conflict was setting up for later, because we don't really get a proper fight with the big bad guys in this arc, so we get
Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah, but definitely
And this fight is actually really good.
yeah,
Oh yeah. Yeah. I love that Usopp is actually able to like hold his own just by basically like overwhelming Luffy with like dirty tactics and trickery and stuff like that.
yeah,
And because he also like he says like everyone else that you fought against Luffy like they don't know how you fight. They have to like learn like as they're fighting you. But like I have watched you fight. Like I know exactly what you're gonna do. And we also like see Usopp pull out some new tactics with some of the dials and stuff,
yeah.
which is really cool to see. Like
Hmm.
and a good payoff for him getting the dials at the end of Skypiea.
Yeah, and we also get to see that he's made a new weapon for Nami with the dials. We haven't seen her use it yet, but it's like blue
hmm
and it's got little bulbs on it. Looks interesting.
Yeah.
um,
I certainly gained a lot of respect for Usopp in this fight.
Yeah.
This
Definitely.
up until this point, he's always just been like this weak joke character, and out of nowhere, he believes in something so much he's willing to take on Luffy, who he literally saw beat up Shichibukai. Like he knows his captain is no joke, and he's willing to lay it down with them.
yeah, he's the one that calls for the duel. It's not like saying, "I will beat your ass."
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
Usopp saying, "I
Yeah,
will
dude,
beat
this is
your
like one of the
ass."
best Usopp moments just because like the fact that he's willing to like go against such great odds, even though he's already been established as like a coward and weak, but just because of like he believes so strongly in what he's fighting for. And he's this is like him taking tangible steps towards like being a great warrior like the ones that he idolized in Little Garden.
Yeah,
Like just fighting for what he believes in and like fighting for his honor. And like I really love to see it. And like yeah, like he ended up losing, but I think this is like still one of like the best Usopp moments, just because of like what he was willing to, like the odds that he was willing to stand up to.
Yeah.
Um,
And I really liked his like it's kind of a parallel with because he like hangs out with Frankie towards the end of the chapter, and I really liked all the scenes that he had with Frankie. And
oh
Frankie's
yeah,
story kind of parallels it because Frankie has his own falling out with Iceberg and I guess Tom, but Tom kind of
uh-huh,
isn't in the picture for a bit.
yeah,
And yeah, them talking and them kind of relating through that, and Frankie being able to also say like, no, your ship is it's pretty fucked, but like also I understand why you're doing this is
mm-hmm,
it's really cool and it's a great parallel between the two. Like I really liked how they humanized Frankie because initially he's just like the joke villain kind of. He's there and his cronies are stealing their money and stuff like that and he doesn't seem
uh-huh,
like too big of a threat. And then they humanize him with his backstory and like his conversations with Usopp and like you're able to relate to him because of what's been set up already, which I really liked.
yeah, yeah. I love when we get Frankie's backstory. Like that's like such a great flashback.
Yeah.
Um, just like yeah, the way that like I mean, it's so sad just like seeing Frankie, who just like had no intention of having his battle Frankies be used for like any harm other than just like fighting sea kings and just for fun. Just like have them be used against his friends and like Tom and like yeah, really sad. And also like yeah, I just really love the moment where like Frankie starts to say like, "Oh, they're not my ships," and then Tom like flips out.
Yeah.
He like breaks the chains. He like pulls the harpoon out of his body. He's like, "No, Frankie, like you never say that. Like never like deny your own creations. Like they are yours, and like whether they're used for good or they're evil, they're still yours. And like you made them, and so you have to take responsibility for them, and you have to take pride in them."
Hmm.
And I love that moment. That's like such a great fucking, oh God, it's so good.
Yeah, Tom is a really interesting character for sure. He's a very good father figure for two very different people with Iceberg and Frankie, and yeah, his like moments where he is very adamant on a certain point of teaching definitely makes him more of that strong father figure, and you can definitely see that. Like I think it's pretty well shown in where with Iceberg and Frankie's actions, like that they do like it does feel like these people were raised by the person that they established earlier, which I think is a credit to how Oda was writing
Yeah, definitely.
the dialogue and how they acted in certain situations with Iceberg against his own friends and Frankie in his own situation. So it definitely made me feel like obviously they're not the direct son because this guy's a giant fish man, but you really got the feeling that they were
Hmm.
raised by this guy.
Oh yeah. And I love like how the like after we get the flashback, we kind of we get more context into like Iceberg's reaction about like the possibility of the weapon being revived. Because this is basically like it's just exactly what happened with the Battle Frankies in the flashback, just on a
Hmm.
larger scale. It's like a weapon that has the potential to like do some like serious damage, and like he's reacting the way that he is because of like what he's seen in the past, like with like the battle Frankies being used for like by the government and in like a bad way. And so he's basically like he's willing to do anything to stop that,
Yeah, and
which like makes a lot of sense.
they have like a really good parallel they established between Frankie and his ships and also like the weapon with like the nature versus nurture thing. So you've got
Hmm.
Frankie being raised by Tom and like he's like portrayed to be not that great of a kid, but through Tom he like grows up to be a pretty decent person. Obviously he's like
Hmm.
he paints himself as a criminal, but deep down he's got pretty standard morals. And then you've got like Tom saying like the ships you make they aren't they're not bad by nature. Like the people that
Hmm.
drive them and the people that work on them, like they're the people that instill those morals and like those values into the ships and the weapons that they use. And like you've got the
Yeah.
ginormous super weapon, and you've also got that touchdown with the Mary. Like the fact that they showed it so much love that this I can't remember what the actual creature was called, but like the
Uh-huh.
spirit of the Going Mary like appears to fix the ship at least one more time because they've instilled such good morals in the ship. And yeah, this idea of nature versus nurture is like a running theme throughout the manga, and I think it was really well touched on through these two arcs.
Yeah, definitely. And especially, yeah, just like with like the fact that like the creations are something to take pride in, because like they're not because they're good, and like they shouldn't be like, you shouldn't be ashamed of them because they have the potential to be evil, but you should just like take pride in them because they are like something that you have created, and like you brought this into the world, and like, whatever happens next, like it doesn't matter, because you still, like, you should still take pride in like your own creations, because that's something that
They
you've
were special
accomplished for
because they were
yourself.
born into this world.
Exactly.
It's nice to see that we get another comments about these super weapons too.
Yeah,
Like
Hmm.
this is something that we've been hearing about every single arc. So
yeah, and I think this is the same one that they were talking about
In
Alabasta,
in
Alabasta.
Alabasta.
Yeah.
Yeah, um,
Pluton, yeah.
Pluton. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's the name. And yeah, this is definitely like a really good advancement of Nico Robin's arc, because that's like the main character arc that we've been seeing recently for the crew member wise. Her arc, and you see it in Skypiea too. She's the only one that can read these poneglyphs, and she hears about multiple super weapons, and we're just like hearing so much about how dangerous Nico Robin is, and like why she has such a high bounty on her head from such a young age, because she can provide these super weapons that will apparently single-handedly destroy the world. So it's a
Yeah.
lot of hype surrounding these weapons, and I'm sure this is going to be a pretty interesting point of contention throughout the next few chapters.
Yeah,
We actually skipped over pretty important character that we met after the Foxy Pirate arc
that's
in
true. Yeah.
Aokiji.
Oh, Kiji, yeah, yeah, yeah. I honestly, I'm be honest, I didn't take too much notice. He was pretty cool. He was a big ice guy, but I assume they were establishing him for later, but he seemed pretty powerful.
I mean,
Yeah. I
he
mean,
shut down Luffy, Zoro. He shut down the entire crew like half-assed.
yeah. And he is one of like the three admirals, and that's basically, they said that that's like there's only one person in the Marines that's higher ranking than an admiral.
Yeah,
So he's basically like one of the top dogs.
top four in the entire
And
Marines.
exactly, yeah. And he knew Robin. They have a little bit of history together. So
We
yep.
also missed the freestyle swimming frog. I thought that was a
Oh yeah,
hilarious thing when they're just on their way to Water 7. They're like, look in the water, there's a frog swimming freestyle. And then it
yeah,
comes back later, like, oh, that was Tom's pet or whatever. Tom's like friend that worked on his ships with
yeah.
him, and it's like, oh,
His
and you
buddy.
like see him teaching the frog how to swim freestyle.
Yeah,
I thought that was
yeah. That
hilarious.
was great. And then, but then also just like the fact that like he was swimming, and then also like he was, the other thing that we saw him do was like try to fight the train,
Oh
and like he
yeah,
obviously got bodied by the train, but that's something that he learned from Frankie, because that's what Frankie did after the train was taking Tom to Annie's lobby. He was
yeah.
trying to derail the train, but he obviously couldn't,
hmm
and that's why he's a cyborg now,
Now
because he
he's a
got,
cyborg because he had to replace.
yeah.
I loved when he replaces his stomach with like a refrigerator or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like,
because that's how
yeah.
he's powered. He's powered by the cola. It's his power set.
I gotta say I love the Frankie followers, like the
Yeah,
family. Like I
the
just
film.
love the design. They're all like these weirdly shaped, gigantic beans.
There's one of them that's just like a perfect sphere. Like he's just so round.
Yeah.
It's great.
Speaking of interesting character designs, I talked about this with Kyle a little bit, but I absolutely hated how, what was her name, Korokoru or whatever?
Kokoro.
Kokoro,
Kokoro.
the old
I
lady.
I hate her design. Like she is disgusting. I want to look away every time she is on a page. And there's a great moment when they're just like, it's like the flashback with Tom, and he's like, ah, yes, Tom's glamorous and the beautiful secretary or whatever, Kokoro, and she's still just ugly.
She got Sice noodles. Look.
She looks like Yubaba from Spirited Away. She got the giant triangle nose, and I don't know. Like she's an interesting character, and she's like pretty integral to that whole plot line with Frankie and stuff. And she ends up driving the train to Enies Lobby for them. But
Mhm.
anytime she was on a page, I wanted to get past that page as fast as possible. She was disgusting.
Yeah, pretty ugly. And we're definitely at the point in the manga. I mean, it's only going to get crazier, like in terms of character designs, but like Oda is definitely going all out on some of his character designs at this
Yeah,
point. Like we've, as we mentioned with like the Frankie family, and I think Frankie has a great design. He
yeah,
just looks, he like it's just like I feel like everything you need to know about his character is just captured perfectly in like his first introduction with him doing his like Frankie pose with like his hands together making the star.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Man's
good.
got the Hank Hill ass.
He's got the Hank Hill ass. Kyle said to me, and he's not afraid to show it.
Yeah.
So with the with the speedo and everything.
Yeah, I like his Popeye arms. He's got like the perfect
Yes,
Popeye arms.
and it's like and it's great because like they're it's not just that like he's shaped like that, it's because he's a cyborg,
Yeah.
so like he's got all the weapon modifications in there.
He chose to look that way.
I actually really like
Exactly.
seeing
Yeah.
him fight on the train against the
Mm-hmm. I
the
guess
the
Nero.
CP9 guy that like didn't end up like end up getting fired or whatever. And he like goes into
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
centaur mode. And it's like it doesn't end up doing
Yeah.
anything except I guess he ends up pinning him down arms and legs because he's got four legs. But it was
Uh-huh.
it was cool
This is
seeing some of
the
his
reverse
attachments.
centaur.
Yeah, the reverse centaur. Why are you backwards? But yeah, he's got like the rocket punch almost, where he's got like an extendable
Uh-huh.
hand. Super cool. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, great character design on him.
He's got like guns in his arm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got weapons left. He's
Yeah.
got strong right. It's good shit.
yeah.
Um,
Let's see other characters. I guess we could talk about all the villains. This arc had some pretty cool powers. Honestly, the one that I liked the most was the guy with the door fruit. That guy was super
oh yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
I was like,
Bruno.
okay,
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool even when he was just going through like the wall. Like it seems like a pretty
Uh-huh.
niche power, but then he's like able to open a portal. I was like, oh my god, this is the coolest fruit ever.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got a pretty cool power for sure.
I think it was
Yeah.
Blue Ano that had the power.
Oh, Blue no. Yeah, not
Yeah,
Bruno.
Blue No.
Bluno. And I guess all of them have kind of showed some pretty powerful techniques as far as and Tifa, whatever her name is, Khalifa.
Khalifa, Mia Khalifa, and Tifa.
Khalifa, she's like jumping in the air,
Mm-hmm.
almost flying.
She's got the whips, doesn't she? Or was that the other
She's
lady?
got the whips. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's got
Yeah,
the
she has
whips.
whips. Yeah. Yeah. But they all have like those other powers that they're all using.
Yeah, they
Um,
say like I can't remember what it's called, but like it doesn't. He hit me, but it never broke my whatever the power is called.
yeah, there's like six of them. There's like six powers, I think.
It
Hmm.
And
it
one of
reminds
them,
me of like Nen in Hunter x Hunter, where it's like, okay, we've seen our heroes at that point, like up until the end of season one in Hunter x Hunter, like you see all of the heroes get really strong, and you're like, okay, well they're really strong, and then like there's like another tier of people, and like they don't even know about how to get to that tier because they don't know how these powers work. So that's like my gut reaction to hearing about new powers that these people have that like kind of put them up another tier where it's
mhm.
it's just like okay, Luffy has to learn about this and like he's got to study this new tier of power so he can get stronger.
Right, that's a fair assessment. That's classic shonen anime.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I mean, also I feel like this is like one of the yeah, like you were saying, this is probably one of the largest like steps up that a another like an opponent has been from Luffy since like Crocodile.
Yeah.
And I
I'd
mean,
definitely
and
say so.
I feel like him beating Crocodile didn't, it just sort of ended up, him kind of discovering a loophole, like basically the water is like how he was able to circumvent like the whole sand thing.
Yeah, the water and the
So,
blood.
yeah, we'll see how he's able to get through these powers.
Yeah.
So,
What other powers did they have? The whip lady, the door guy, the long nose guy. I liked his design a lot. He was pretty cool. He reminded me from
Yeah,
the
we still
scout from.
haven't seen his fruit if he
Yeah,
has one.
he was cool.
Um, and
What a
then the pigeon guy, like he was the leopard. He had the leopard
Oh yeah,
fruit.
he had the animal fruit. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was so fucking strong because like like him and Luffy and Zoro were just like they were having their confrontation or whatever, and he just like knocked them like so far, like he
Yeah.
knocked
He
them like
them
across the
across the
city, like
town. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So he is very strong. He's definitely one to watch out for. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
he was pretty cool. And then we got the return of the oh, I can't remember the guy. The marine guy that was hunting that or not the marine guy, I guess he was just a government guy that was hunting Tom and like the long time ago and now
Oh
he's got the
oh
messed
oh
up face now.
Spondum, yeah,
Spandam.
Spanned him,
Spandum,
yeah. He's
yeah.
I don't know. He doesn't strike me. He kind of strikes me as like a weasel character, so I don't think he'll be super strong, but I could be definitely proven wrong. It's been what 10 years since that flashback, so
Yeah, it's been a while.
um I feel like Frankie's design post time skip and Spandam's design pre time skip, they both have like the metal noses. I
Hmm.
think. Like Spandam had a weird nose, I
Uh,
remember.
well, yes, I don't know if he has like the same kind of metal nose, but
Yeah, that's
I mean,
the
yeah,
yeah.
because I don't know if I don't think that Spondum is like cyborg like Frankie is, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, I like how when we're first introduced to Frankie, he's like wearing the mask, and you can see the metal nose, but you just think it's part of the mask. But then like
Yeah.
once he takes the mask off, you're like, oh shit, he still has the metal nose, and that's kind of like your first hint that he's a cyborg. But then he like basically announces that he's a cyborg like very quickly after he like breathes fire and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I like
Ano-
the Oh, go ahead.
Another ability that they have that is notable is that they're all like way too fast for Luffy to read them.
Yeah.
yeah, they're very fast. That's for
Very fast. I liked how I like the kind of the sense of speed that I got from when they were like they were still undercover. I don't think they'd been established or like discovered at that point when they were
sure.
pretending to attack they were all in their masks and they were attacking the castle and everyone's like I
Yeah.
can't even see these people the art really got a good sense of speed behind it
Hmm.
and I was like okay yeah these people are next level.
Yeah, definitely. They're a pretty serious threat. I mean, and it's like there's like so much more anticipation just because uh like if you consider Water 7 and Ennie's Lobby as like one arc, then it's like the longest arc that we've had so far. Um and like the they've been introduced and there's just like a lot more buildup between like us first seeing their powers and like what will be the final confrontation with them down the line. So
Hmm.
it's just like there's there's a lot of hype for these fights.
Yeah. I think we should definitely talk about what they've talked about with Enies Lobby because like they've made it sound like it's a pretty menacing place. They mentioned it's like
Hmm.
somewhere that no pirates ever return from. There's like multiple
Yeah.
areas. One that's just like a judgment area, and another that's like a interrogation and torture area. It sounds pretty scary, and they're definitely set up to be a pretty interesting place for the next arc. And a pretty interesting contrast from Water 7, which, like you mentioned, is like a Venice area, and I think Water 7 seems like I think it's the most like maybe Alabasta is up there, but like the most like civilized area, I guess you could say. Like
Uh-huh.
it's like an
Yeah.
actual big city that they've been in.
Yeah. And
On
it has like trade with other islands through like the
Yeah,
trains and
through the
stuff. So
trains.
it's
Yeah,
definitely like yeah, definitely very civilized and it's like a metropolis.
yeah, and I'm very curious to see what Enies Lobby looks like. Right now in my head, it's a very well. Actually, no, they mentioned it's like a always day there. So,
Yeah, yeah, it's a
but
never night island.
but it still seems like it'll be pretty dreary if it's like just judgment and prison and torture and courts and stuff. I don't know. It doesn't seem like a too joyous place compared to Water 7.
Yeah, and it'll also be like interesting because this is like Annie's lobby will be. I mean, they describe it as like the front door of the world government, So like
Yeah.
this is like the place where the influence of the world government will be the strongest that we've been so far, by far, because
Hmm.
it's like literally like it is the world government's island, and it's like where they conduct their like trials for these like super extreme cases where they basically have already determined that they're guilty,
Yeah.
and they yeah, it's so yeah, it'll be interesting.
Um, kind of going off that, I really liked this is just a one thing. I like Tom's line, like right he's like negotiating after Frankie's ship's attacked and they're like, "Yeah, you'll have to like if you want to clear this charge, like you'll have to go back and accept the other charge with you building the ship for the Pirate King." And he's like, "Yeah, I don't care. I'm glad that I built that ship. It was a great ship, and I would do it again in a heartbeat." And that was a pretty badass line from Tom.
Yeah,
It's the
and it
ship
definitely just like
that made it to the end.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Like that's a good
the
ship.
only one. Yeah. And I mean, it just totally fits with what Tom was like just telling Frankie. It's
Yeah.
like the perfect ending for his character, like him
Hmm.
just being like, just taking full responsibility and like being proud of what he was doing,
Yeah, and he's
regardless
not
of how
scared
it
to go
was.
to any slobby
Yeah,
at
he
that point.
definitely accepts his fate with, with courage. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Let's see. A lot of this
Think
was build
we
up.
think we got to talk about Robin.
Oh yeah, Robin.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about Robin.
Her constant I don't know. I think I liked her arc and like where it's going, but it seems like it was a bit too constant for me at least. Her being like, stop chasing me, don't come after me, I don't want to be friends with you." And then like they hear like, uh, but she actually really likes you guys, and like that's why she's doing this. And they're all like, "We know what you said to him," and she's still like going on about that. Like she could be like, "Yeah, this is for your own good, guys. Like, I love you." Like, she doesn't even acknowledge the fact that like you guys are my best friends at that point. Like, she doesn't tell them what she told Iceberg. She still continues on with like I think she does lighten up on it a bit, but she doesn't just come out and say like what she told Iceberg. Instead, she like maintains like I don't want to be with you guys anymore and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah. The Robin, like the hard shell, the Robin nut has not yet been cracked.
Yeah,
There's definitely like she's still holding things back
yeah.
from the crew.
She
Um,
seems to be due for a breakdown of emotions, and I'm sure that'll happen in any lobby or like something where she finally lets herself be more open with people.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah,
um,
I mean I love like the like I just love how like all of the Straw Hats, like once they like find out that Robin is like actually like being held prisoner by like the world government, and like she's being like coerced into like doing all of these like horrible things, and that she's basically only doing it to like save them, how like that gives them so much more like like motivation and like dedication, because they're like, yes, like they like now Robin like is not just someone who like betrayed us. She's someone who like we can like work together to save.
yeah,
And like I love how that gives the Straw Hats like motivation, and it like, pushes them to like, you know, uh follow Robin all the way to the gates of the world government.
yeah.
So
And I really like their last attempt to get Robin when they're on the train and they're like, "Oh God, what do we do now?" Like they've got like these four really strong people in front of them, and Usopp just throws a smoke bomb and grabs Robin and just sprints and like breaks the car apart. I was like, "That's a pretty good attempt," but if they didn't have a portal guy, like that would have worked.
yeah. Well, I think that you actually might have been speed reading a little bit, because that wasn't Usopp, that was actually Soju King.
Oh,
So
oh yeah, yeah. Sorry, yeah, my bad. I really liked his mask, by the way. It was funny as hell.
yeah.
And also
So
his
get king.
his conversation. It was pretty short, but his conversation with Robin was pretty nice. Just because,
Oh
like,
yeah,
at
definitely.
that point, I don't think Robin knew that that Usopp had been like out of the pirates for like a day or two.
Yeah, she didn't.
So like him acting as like basically their diplomat in that situation, telling her to come back to the pirates, even though he himself has left the pirates, is it's an interesting dynamic, and I thought it was pretty great.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like a cool moment to see like those two are like, at this point they're the ones who are like the most estranged from the crew.
Yeah, because
And
like
even
he's just left the crew and he's trying to convince somebody else to come back to it, and it's like, oh well, he's as he's explaining it to her, like he's probably thinking like the same things. Like obviously her reason for leaving is much different than his, but
yeah,
he still relates to her in some capacity.
Hmm.
yeah, exactly.
Um, so yeah, he's probably convincing himself as he's telling her in a little small way.
Hmm.
I'm excited for the resolution of Usopp uh that whole Usopp area. I'm excited to see if they get a new ship, or if they do go the route of um, a way to repair the Going Merry. Because like they make a specific point to being like you can't just remake a ship call it the Going Merry as well. Like that's not how this
Yeah.
works. So
Hmm.
it either has to be a brand new ship, or something has to work its way to repair the Going Merry. So I'm excited to see how that works, and then also how that ends up patching their relationship with Usopp.
I think it's noticeable to bring in the fact that Usopp was talking about like some kind of spirit that he saw working on the ship when they
Battery
were in
low.
Skypiea.
Yeah. We
Hmm.
mentioned that a little earlier with we were talking about how like ships don't have they're not inherently one emotion, and like the fact that
Hmm.
they put so much of their love into the ship and like they felt so strongly about it, it imbued their ship with their own emotions and like ended up giving them such a loving spirit that like actually repaired the ship for them. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see like if they ended up covering that later, because like that's a pretty big thing if like a ship has a spirit like that. Like,
Hmm.
that's pretty important.
Yeah, and it also kind of like makes like Usopp's like frustration at Luffy for being so willing to abandon the Going Merry. It makes it a lot more understandable because like he understands that like the ship is like sentient and like alive to some extent,
Yeah,
because it
true,
has
true.
spirit. And so it's like he understands like I mean what you were saying as well with like him having a stronger personal connection to the ship because like Kaya made it or Kaya gave it to them. But like yeah, I mean also like he also is the one who the ship chose to reveal itself to. um so yeah, I mean he like has a strong connection. He like understands that it's like more than just a ship. I mean I think that the others kind of they get that on like an emotional level, like they understand that like the ship is important and it's like kind of a member of the crew in the same way that they are. But Usopp understands that at like a much stronger level, and that's why he was like willing to like stake his place in the crew for it.
Yeah. You have like a pretty good scene with the CP9 crew just sending it out. Like it shows like where the dock is at that point, because the tides have been going up and down and up and down,
Hmm.
and like it's like a zoomed out version of where this dock is supposed to be, where they're supposed to work on ships, like this warehouse, and it's like a crazy drop to the seafloor, and he just shoves it out of there, and it's like, oh my god, that thing is probably pretty messed up at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely interested to see where all that goes. I'm also interested to see because they mentioned getting a carpenter, and I'm curious because I don't see a lot of suitable candidates to join their crew. I guess Frankie's a decent candidate. I don't think Iceberg is a good candidate because obviously he's mayor. Um,
Hmm. Also, like Luffy basically like asked him, he was like, "Yo, you should join our crew," and he's like, "No."
yeah.
So,
Um, Paulie, I guess, could be a candidate. I'm trying to think of other candidates. I guess if you had like a CP9 guy that turned coat, they could be a candidate because they're all actual shipwrights. They just
hmm.
work for the government. But yeah, I'm interested to see if because they do mention like they need a carpenter for their crew. So that, and then they mention what was the other role that they mentioned besides music? I think they mentioned another
A
role
musician?
besides musician. Um,
I don't know. I don't know if they did they mention that?
they might have. I can't remember. But yeah, I'm curious to see who they end up going with, if anybody at all.
Yeah.
I'd say if I had to put money on it, It's between Frankie and Paulie. Paulie seems like a pretty good choice just because he's not a main character in that whole plot line. Like he's a
Hmm.
secondhand man to Iceberg, but also Frankie's had more development than Paulie, so
Hmm.
we as a
Fair.
reader care more about Frankie. And then I don't know where exactly he would go. He doesn't strike me as the type to just go back to like being devious Frankie after all this development with him. So I don't know. We'll see.
We will see. And they're both coming with us to Annie's Lobby.
Yes, they are
So
both on the train to Ennis Lobby, so we've got plenty of time for development with each of them.
yeah,
I was actually surprised when I saw that Paulie was with them. I thought he would have stayed behind, but
yeah. Polly came, and then those other two shipwrights that also came.
yeah,
The really strong guy, I think his name is Tilestone, and then I don't remember who the other guy is with like the one spike in his hair.
yeah, I didn't pick up
Um,
either of their names.
but yeah, they are also coming. And then who else is coming? We got the Frankie family coming. We got Frankie coming.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Um, we got well, we got Kokoro and
her
shoot,
daughter.
what's like the little girl's name? Yeah, I don't remember what the girl's name is.
it's like not a name. It's like an actual word.
Oh,
Oh,
and then also like their cat
yeah,
that is not actually a cat. I think it's a
Chimney is
rabbit.
her name.
Chimney.
Chimney. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but
Think
yeah,
it's
so they're coming.
interesting. It's interesting to see Luffy make an alliance with all of these like external forces too.
Hmm.
Uh, you got the Frankie family, which is pretty large, and you got the Iceberg, all the people who follow Iceberg,
yeah, the Galley Law Company or what's left of it.
right? Right, and the fact that Luffy's like, "Hey, we're all looking at a common enemy here. Why don't we join forces?" Uh, it's an interesting concept.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
definitely.
and it's also like Luffy just sort of has this like he's got the magnetic personality. Like everyone like he's so I feel like people can't help but like Luffy, and it's not because he like goes out of his way to like make people like him. It's actually kind of the opposite, that Luffy just doesn't really care, but he's like he just he says things so matter of factly, and he's like exactly what you said. He's like, yeah, we have like a common enemy. Like, why don't we just like all get together and like take them out? And everyone's like, you know what? When you say it like that, let's just do it.
Yeah, and
So
he's
it
so,
happened.
like when Luffy is driven, like he's driven, and like after hearing what Robin actually said and like what she meant when she left the pirates, like he's very driven to get Robin back and like
Hmm.
to resolve her whole situation.
Oh yeah,
So like
dude. Like
everybody
when
else is extremely like drawn to that determination and like his
uh
desire to do what he needs to do.
when
So
when Robin basically says to like Luffy, he's like, stop following me. Like I've made up my mind. I'm leaving the crew. Like I'm going with these people. Then Luffy is just like, you know what? Like when you tell me that, when you're not with them, when you tell me that, like when once I've rescued you, then I'll believe you. But like
yeah,
right now, like I'm not buying it for a second.
yeah.
That was a great moment.
There was a moment because like it's a decently emotional moment with when they're all in I think they're all in Iceberg's room and they're all talking to each other and it's like right when Robin like jumps out the window. The the translation that I was reading or like the website that I was using the frame when Robin is looking back from like the windowsill and she's talking to Nami and Nami's like please don't go Robin and Robin says something to Nami. I can't remember what it was. And this is partly the reason the translation that I was using, all of the text bubbles were just blank, and I thought that might have been like a
What?
stylistic choice until I looked it up on another website and they actually had like words there. But it definitely took me out of the moment for a bit. She's like looking back and there's just a blank speech bubble coming from her mouth.
Damn,
Yeah,
that is a shitty translation.
yeah, but it was yeah definitely a good moment for sure with everyone doing their darndest to get Robin back, and like that's before that they know what Robin says, and they still are like all about that save Robin.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's pretty great because like even like I feel like Robin was definitely like the least trusted member of the crew, but everyone is still like, you know what, we got to get Robin.
Yeah, For sure.
because they recognize that like you're a crewmate, and that's what's important. Like whatever came before is not important. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It was like her decision to become a crewmate. That like once she made up her mind to be a crewmate, then like everyone else had basically already agreed that like if something like this would happen, they would fight like hell to get her back. So
Mm-hmm. Part of the ship, part of the crew. Let's see. Any other standout moments for you guys? I'm trying to think because we didn't cover too much on Longland. We talked about it a bit, but it was a pretty short chapter and it was a lot of tongue in cheek stuff. Um,
yeah,
I don't know if there was anything like stuck out to me that
No, not really.
like they had like a half giant, half fish man, I think, or was
yeah,
Tom?
yeah.
Was Tom half giant?
No. It was like what like the really big guy that they had be the ball
Yeah,
during the second round or
yeah.
whatever.
Like they had
We
fight
we get
scenes. Wait, go ahead.
we get to see Zorro and Sanji work together for once.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
always at odds with each other. Sanji's always calling Zoro like some random green food, usually something
Yeah.
lettuce related.
Massimo.
I like I like when he calls him something. It's like some French green food or something, and like, or he'll call him some obscure green food, and like, um, Oda will have to like put a little thing to tell the reader what the hell he's talking about, because like it's
Yeah.
something nobody's ever heard of.
Translator's note.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Also, like I like how I think we Zoro called Sanji like um dartboard eyebrows or something like that, which was a pretty solid burn.
Um,
And I feel like we hadn't heard that one before, so that was kind of fun.
Somebody else was also criticizing Sanji for his eyebrows during this arc. I think it was one of the people on the train. He was like, "Yo, Spiral Brow, come get some," or some stupid shit. Um,
Oh yeah, maybe it was the ramen guy.
yeah, I think. Oh, the ramen guy. We should talk about the ramen guy. That guy's hilarious. He looked like he
Yeah.
looked like Olaf from Frozen at the first part, and and then he gets beaten up so bad he like turns into handsome Squidward.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was pretty epic. The handsome Squidward moment.
I like that fight was hilarious.
Yeah.
Except
Sanji using up some knives.
yeah, this is the first time we've seen him use anything but his kicks. He's started
Yeah.
using kitchen knives because he's like,
And it's
well,
okay because he's technically cutting food.
yeah. This is I'm preparing food right now. I can use my knives. This isn't just feet.
Because that's why
Um,
Sanji doesn't use his fist, because he's like, if I punch and I mess up my hands, then I won't be able to like cook the food to the
yeah,
best of my ability.
but yeah, he like
So
keeps
like
beating this guy up, and he's just like, "You're not a chef. You're not a chef." Like he's just, like
yeah.
hammering home this point. And this guy's just got such a wacky like he's got basically a ramen exosuit
Yeah.
that comes from
Yeah,
his
this is
nose.
yeah. Yeah, this is what I was talking about with like Oda getting wild with the character designs. This is definitely one of the weirder ones for sure.
But also at the same time, pretty great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I am like all for the weird character
Yeah.
designs. Like those are like one of the
I'm
best
all
character
for the
designs.
ramen coming out of the nostrils.
Yeah, because that's some shit that you only get in One
Also, the
Piece.
ramen laser beams.
Yeah. Yeah, those. Oh, the other guys in the train. We had like
We had the weird marine
the
guy that was like really gaunt and pale, but he was also like a super nice guy.
yeah. It's like he was like yeah, he was a very kind-hearted soul, but he just happened to be a marine, and so Zoro had to he had to cut him up.
Well, he seemed pretty strong. Like they were like, this guy could cut through anything. He's known for
Yeah.
cutting ships in half. And
Uh-huh.
then Zoro cuts his boat in half. I like how
Yeah. Oh,
the car like gets cut in half, and then each half becomes like a mini boat.
yeah, dude, that was so that like the panel of Zoro cutting the train in half was so sick. Just
Yeah.
like because you could see like all the way down the middle, and it's just like the like the perspective is like from right behind Zoro. Such like that was like such a great panel. Also the panel of them like um uh crashing through the Aqua Laguna when they like when
Yeah.
Zoro and Luffy do their like team up attack, do their like Gomu Gomu no like 300-pound cannon.
Yeah.
That was pretty
I
awesome.
liked like I think it was probably like 10 chapters later when they're all on the other train still, and like you see like a bunch of kids. It's like Chimney, her rabbit, Chopper's there, and like a few other people, and they're like reenacting that.
Yeah.
They're all
Yeah,
like,
that was
they're like,
awesome.
stop fooling around. It's like, well, we got the time. Like, why does it matter if we're fooling around? And they're all like pretending to be Luffy and Zoro.
Yeah.
Just like a
It's so good.
small but also humanizing moment.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, most of this was set up, it seemed, for any Slavia, so that's pretty hype for me at least.
Yep, you better strap yourself in your seat.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be an arc that, like Alabasta, I think I read in like a day and a half just because I was like pretty keen on getting through it because it was pretty like just interesting and made me want to read more. And I feel like any Slavia is probably gonna be pretty similar to that, where I just power through it in a day or two.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if nobody has anything else, this has been another episode of the One Piece podcast. I think we're calling it. I guess we're gonna do a manga show, and I'd like my vote is for Manga Menagerie, just because I don't know, it's a fun
I'm
word to
down for
say.
that. That sounds good to me.
I think Menagerie just means a random collection. I think it's usually used a random collection of zoo animals, or animals in general, and I think that's a good description for us. So.
I like the alliteration.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, thanks for watching.